Welcome to Teachers Transition Podcast, a show dedicated to supporting teachers transition in, through, and out of education. Grab your seat and let's talk about how to make your next transition a successful one. On our last episode, we interviewed Cherise Irons, a teacher who became an administrator. We ended episode 1 with her going to the doctor and the doctor giving her a not so great recommendation. Let's join in the conversation now.
So by September, I was very sick. I didn't see a neurologist till probably November. And I remember laying on the desk at a meeting once, which was unheard of for me. My computer was in front of me and my head was on the desk because I was in too much pain to even think straight. And the final straw was I went to the doctor and then I'll never forget that day. I walked out of his office. He's like, "You need to quit your job." He's like, this is what your brain looks like. Mm-hmm. This is why you're having all this pain right now.
Wow.
This your migraine. The migraine is in overdrive. You have chronic, intractable migraine, meaning it's nonstop, meaning you need to not do the current. He said, "What is your job?" I said, "Assistant principal." He said, "No, ma'am, you can't do that job." And I said, "What about the classroom?" He said, "There's no accommodation that they can make for you that's going to help you right now. You need to stop, period. You need to apply for disability." So this is me, mother of a college student,
sure.
And I've been working in education 15 years, and this doctor's going to tell me that I need to quit. And I thought to myself, is he serious? Does he know?
Doctor, are you going to pay my bills if you're giving me this order? For me.
Exactly. I said, "Is he serious?" And he looked at me then, and he's an old school guy. You know, he still took notes on his little flip notepad thing in shorthand, by the way. Mm-hmm. And he said, "You don't understand. Your brain right now, you have fluid that's like sitting in your pituitary gland. You're so inflamed. Your face looks like my face at the time looked like a tomato. It was just very red." He's like, you can't. So I said, okay. So I left his office and went to work, and I had the information already, but I didn't know what I was going to do or what steps to take. I just hadn't processed it all. And let's just say God helped me to process it in a quick and fast. I got in my car and I left school November 6th, and I never went back. Wow. Because I got in my car, drove from Annapolis to Glen Burnie in Maryland. And all I'm going to say is, I don't know how I saw, and it was dark because it's this fall. So it was very dark outside. My head was hurting so bad. Mm-hmm. I got home and I collapsed in my living room. Wow. And when I woke up, my head was hurting me so bad that I called my neighbor. She was right next door, but I couldn't get to my door. And she's at the door, but she didn't have a key, so she couldn't get in. So I had to crawl on the floor, and I couldn't even stand up straight, and open the door. And she helped me up, and her husband and they took me to the emergency room. And that weekend, I was in the emergency room twice. In that weekend, I was there Friday, came out, was back again Saturday, because I was hurting so bad, and I never went back to school at all. I did not go back to work. And that began this whole process of filling out disability paperwork, trying to figure out what I was going to do with in college. It was a lot that I had to deal with.
Yeah. Let me just say, definitely as a fellow teacher and our listeners, who are probably on the edge of the seat, our heart goes out to you because, there are times as a teacher, we have to navigate through these impossible situations that we didn't necessarily ask to be a part of. And unfortunately, it's not everywhere, but there are places where it could be leadership or different things where the outcome is detrimental to the person that, said something or experiencing that. And, I definitely, I know there's listeners out there that have gone through situations where, they had, you see something, you say something, or you're putting these difficult situations, and now, you know, you thought everything is fine, and now your world is completely upside down, and you're in this incredibly difficult transition. And it's not like you were causing all this ruckus, and you were demanding stuff, and you were, you know, you were trying to be an inspiring leader. You were, recognized. So definitely, my heart goes out to you and all those listeners that, you know, you know, are put in this most difficult, life-changing, heartbreaking situations. Please tell us there's a rainbow.
You want to know if there's like flowers and rainbow and stuff
Well,
now, Alex?
because there are people that you might be in the midst of this. They're thinking, "Hey, what, where is she now? How is she? So can you kind of share, your journey now, and what are you fighting for, and what are you advocating for? And I know you're doing so much great work in that, and I don't want to spoil it. So if you can kind of share.
All right, I'll tell them. So you would probably think after something like that I would not want to have anything to do with leadership, doing anything. So for a little while, I think until about December of 2015, I just thought, oh, okay, I'm just over it. I don't want to have anything to do with education. But now, God has a funny way of, opening your eyes to different things and different opportunities. And I think in January of 2016, I started my business. And originally, the reason that happened is because I was at an event and John Maxwell was speaking at this event. And if you don't know anything about John Maxwell, just go look him up, okay? He's a great leader and all of that. So he was on stage and he was launching one of his new books. It was called Intentional Living. And I promise you, the man is talking. As soon as he opened his mouth, I knew it was a God thing because I started crying like right away. Because I felt that arena was full, thousands of people in there, and I knew he was just talking to me. Because what he was saying and talking about, being on purpose and walking in your purpose, and that he had the John Maxwell team and all of that. And up until that point, I knew about John Maxwell. I'd seen him speak before, but I'd never been to any of his events. And by January of 2016, I was, okay, I need to start a business. And what is it going to be called? And I was just praying about it for a long time. And so I was having a conversation, I think it was Oslin, who you've interviewed already. And she said, I said, I think I'm going to name my business after my dad to continue my father's legacy, my family's legacy. So I said, it has to have something with irons in it, because that's my name. And I love my family. And then, so we said, okay, it became Irons Group. Initially, that's what I called it. And when I was living in Maryland, and then during the conversation, I'm like, my tagline, I don't even know what that means. At the time, this is how I just have to tell people, okay? I am one of those people. I just kind of, if I hear something, I kind of run with it and figure it out after. Sure. So I didn't really know for sure what all of that. And then we were talking and she said, what about iron sharpens iron? That's what you do for everyone anyway. When you're talking to them, you sharpen people, you da-da-da. I had never seen myself that way. Okay. I would just help people. So that became the tagline. So iron sharpens iron. So Proverbs 27:17. And so began my journey into entrepreneurship. And, and I never thought that I had dabbled in some, those multi-level marketing things, done some things here and there. And I had a desire to own something of my own, but I never knew what that something really was. There was nothing that really showed me that. And today, as I sit here, I think about the different iterations of my business. Initially, I thought, I'm going to work with teachers and I'm going to talk to them about leadership and all of that. And then I would do some training in Maryland. I did some stuff with, realtors and all of that. But I kept having this voice The voice of God is what I'm going to say. That's what it was. It was, this is not what I want you to do. And I thought, what do you mean? What else am I supposed to be doing? I'm good at training people.
Sure.
I'm good at leadership stuff. This is easy. It's, I joined the John Maxwell team and we had access to all this information. I'm like, this is easy peasy. I could just go in front of some people, say, do this with your team, walk out, make some money and be done with it. Right. But God just kept being in my face. And every time, I'll tell you, every single time I would go to a doctor's appointment, it would not go well. It would be a situation where I would call the office and there would always be some sort of breakdown in communication. And as my journey in the medical space, I was at the doctor more than I was spending time with my family. I was at the doctor a lot. I could look at my calendar from those times, and I had a doctor's appointment, I was at whatever doctor all the time. And with each of those experiences, I was having a big problem. Communication. People listening to what I was saying. People seeing me and not judging me based on what I was saying.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I started seeing this doctor that I see now. And I remember one day she said, we met, and then she said to me, she said, you would be an excellent advocate and a perfect person to communicate to doctors and neurologists. And she said, I see you standing on stage and sharing your story with doctors.
Wow.
I looked at that lady. I said, listen, my head hurts. Just help me with that.
You're triggering my...
You're a neurologist. Stick to what you know.
Exactly.
Just help me with that. That's all I came here for. Your one job is to get me to feel better. And she just doubled down further to the point where she started to invite me to things or tell people to call me. It's because of her why I found out about the American Migraine Foundation, and I joined the group. I became a trained advocate in 2021 with American Migraine Foundation. I actually won a documentary. I entered this documentary in 2019 for no reason other than because people wouldn't just leave me alone.
Sure.
It was not by choice. And it was Oslin, my family, my son, Mom, you need to enter. And so I said, okay, the way I am, I'm not going to just do this documentary. So I entered the competition in 2019. I won second place.
Wow.
I was not even trying to win anything, Alex. I just did it to shut people up. But every time I tried to do something with training and all of that, it would just inevitably, someone would ask me, hey, so how did you retire at your 40s? I'm not understanding. How are you retired? You look so young. And part of me was just thinking, don't ask me that. That's none of your business, But as I was sharing my story more and more, it became more and more apparent that my experiences inside with the medical spaces that I was entering was something it wasn't unique to me.
Yeah.
There were other people that were dealing with doctors who were the stigma of living with migraine, all these different issues. And so my advocacy for myself turned into advocacy for others. And so now my business primarily focuses on bridging the communication gaps between doctors and patients who have the same desire. That's to be known, seen, and heard.
Wow.
Doctors are humans, just like we are. And so are we. So in my head, initially, it was, you know what? I'm just going to go in there and tell y'all what to do, because clearly you don't know what you're doing.
Sure.
However, that's very combative.
Yes.
That's not collaborative at all.
Yes.
They already deal with enough top-down things. And I read this book a month ago, and it was by a doctor who had gotten really sick, died on the table, and was in the hospital she worked in. She was now the patient in. And she saw from the patient's perspective what it was like when you say certain things to a patient in the middle of crisis. And she it really opened up her eyes, and she wrote a whole book about her story. And that's when I thought, okay, I knew doctors were humans. I knew they were. It's not like I didn't know. I knew they were humans. However, it's a matter of bridging that gap. So there's a gap that happens between when I walk into your office as a migraine patient, or any patient of that for that matter. I walk into this doctor's office. They walk into the room with me, and they don't necessarily see me. They see my problem.
Yes.
So that's the lens that they're looking through, because that's how they were trained. Think about in the classroom when you have a student, when leaders are training teachers, they're always talking about the student this, the student that, student. And so we see the student based on they got a D or a C, or they have this reading problem, they have this disability, as opposed to seeing the actual person.
Yes, yes.
And so that's what happens with doctors and patients. Is very similar. And we're on a timeline. So the doctor's you get 15 minutes of my time. So I don't have time to listen to you tell me all your story and everything else. I just need to know, what's your problem right now?
Yeah.
And for migraine patients, that's hard, because you're dealing with processing issues. Your head is hurting you all the time. You're trying all these different things. 15 minutes is definitely not enough time to tell a doctor, hey, listen, the medication you gave me last time isn't working. I had an allergic reaction to this, and that. Have you talked to my primary care physician? Because now I'm having high blood pressure issues. And then what about my heart and all this stuff? And that neurologist, if he or she is trained, will be able to kind of know how to navigate that, like my doctor does.
Yes.
As opposed to, if they're not trained, they're just going to say, okay, just take this pill and send you on your way. And on their side of it, there's a lot of doctors who are burnt out.
Yes.
It's tired, y'all. COVID happened. Let's not just forget that we're 5 years after COVID, and a lot of doctors, not even really 5 years because it was a little while, but doctors, some of them, their colleagues died.
Yeah.
Okay. Their parents, family members, cousins, friends, some people died, and they lose patience, and there's no place to process their emotions.
Yes.
So the process of grief, when a doctor loses a patient, they go through grief just like if they lost a family member, because you start thinking, okay, did I do something wrong? What could I have done better? It's all these different things. So my job, and the one that I didn't want, I'm just going to say, this is not a job that I chose. That's how I know that it wasn't by my choice. This is something that through my experiences that I've actually evaluated and kind of just overthought sometimes. I'm just like, God, are you sure?
Yes.
No, I'm like, I don't think I really want to do this. I could just live off of my retirement income.
You're confusing me with somebody else.
Right, you are confusing me with someone else. I went to school for broadcast journalism.
Yes.
I am a teacher.
Yes.
I am not no doctor's advocate and all this stuff. That is not something that was on my radar. So now I have the task of, because it's a task, it's like a mountain, okay? Of bridging the communication gap between doctors and patients who want to be known, seen, and heard. Patients want to feel like they're valued. Doctors want to be valued as well. So now it's like, how do you create a space that pushes empathy forward, so doctors are, and collaboration forward, and connecting and building a relationship forward, rather than just focused on numbers all the time?
Well, I mean, I just want to point out, for my teacher listeners, people in transition, that even though your story is unique, there is a lot of transferable skill. Because before, you were trying to be the guardian or gatekeeper for students, making sure they're heard, they're understood, they provide the services, and now you're taking those same skills and going to the medical field. So, for our listeners, often teachers, when they put out their resume, a lot of, recruiters and companies, unfortunately, can only see it a teacher. And you're basically saying that, hey, a lot of the stuff that you did as administrator is so transferable right now because you're just doing it for a different population. So that's really encouraging. And it also sounds like, someone else has a funny sense of humor because, all of these experiences prepared you for what you're doing now. It also prepared you for the students that you impacted. And also it shows that, you know, through different transitions, whether intentional or in your case, unexpected, that what you have learned and what you have, the skills and the leadership qualities, they're gonna come out whatever field you go into, and you're now able to now benefit, a different population that needs your voice, needs your leadership, needs your experience in collaboration and community, and putting the student, now the patient first, and then helping other teachers, now helping doctors to see, hey, this is not just someone, this is not just data about a person that you need to get, at a high test score, or this is not now a patient that a doctor's going to look through the chart, go, oh, I got 20 more patients. You got 5 minutes of my time. I'm not trying to get to know you well. I'm just trying to solve the next one so I can check off. No pun to doctors or teachers, but kind of making sure that everyone is seen, heard as a person. And thank you again for what you're doing. So, just kudos. That's, so many great things that I think you just, intentionally wanted to show us today through your story.
Thank you. I think when you're talking about transferable skills, initially I couldn't see that.
Mhm.
And I just kept thinking it was a separate thing, that entrepreneurship and being a teacher or educator were just these two separate entities. Nothing merged, In my world, I just couldn't see it initially. It took a little while for me to actually see that the skills that I had that were transferable.
Yeah.
And it's funny sometimes when I'm doing activities with adults, and I just laugh because I would think, oh man, I did the same activity in my classroom with teacher. And I find it amusing because and the adults are, oh my gosh, this is such a great activity. And I'm thinking, I did this with like 8th graders, y'all,
Mhm.
but you just change the questioning or whatever. But yes, there are skills that you have that are transferable. Definitely, for sure.
Yeah. So can you speak to, that person that's in a transition moment, whether, you know, God forbid, is as difficult and challenging as you had with that leader in that situation, what words of encouragement, looking back, what are some things? I know it's really hard, difficult, extremely hard during, but I'm sure you can look back and, you know, I'm sure there's still some palpable pain because you don't forget, but at least there's some right now you can smile and you can, see, hey, there was some kind of purpose later on. It wasn't what I intended. What kind of, words of wisdom can you provide, those leaders? Because I've, heard leaders that, they just, give up and just, go into depression, or they just kind of think life is over. And you are inspirational because you're able to find some way to do some amazing things post that situation.
Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, Alex. So I'm just, for anyone who's listening to me, it has not been, it's been very, very challenging. I'm
Sure.
not even going to tell you, we don't have that kind of time today, but it's been very challenging.
You don't
And
have a quote to fix everything.
and there's a couple of things that I would say is, before I get into what an encouraging thing it would be, is hard work is hard work and healing work.
Hmm.
So your
Say it
heart.
again.
Oh, you want me to repeat that? Okay, so your heart work is hard work and healing work.
Hmm.
And I had to work on my heart, you guys.
Yes.
So that incident that occurred with that principal, I realized pretty quickly that he had a heart issue.
Hmm.
And there was nothing that me in my humanness could do about his heart. That's something he would have to resolve
Yes.
him and God. Okay. Whatever that was, he had to work it out. And for me, this has been a journey of a lot of that. I have had to do a lot of introspection, there's a level of awareness that I have now that I didn't have 10 years ago. I am definitely not the same woman in terms of that 40-year-old girl, that woman where that man said all that stuff. I am not that girl right now. That woman is definitely not present, okay? But I didn't just wake up one day, snap my fingers and walk. I'm boldly walking in confidence now and I'm just knocking stuff out of the park. No, okay? It was a process. And that's what I mean when I say your heart work. The
Yeah.
work that you do in your heart to work through the pain, the trauma, the different hurts, why did this happen? Was it something you did? Did you miscommunicate? All of those things, you have to work through your heart issues, your traumas, the things that make you you. Go back to the little girl or the little boy that you were and think about the different situations where you're still stuck. Because after much introspection, I am here to tell you that I know for a fact that I had multiple red flags. I'm going to say multiple red flags where my body was yelling at me about slowing down because I was going at this ridiculous pace. You heard me talk about the transitions that I was making from one place to the other and, switching careers and all that. So your hard work is hard work because if you don't work out your stuff, I like to say people's hearts have landmines in them.
Mm.
So you know about landmines. Landmines are designed to blow you up, okay? That is what they do. But you can't always see them. If you don't know that they're there and you don't have the tools to help you, most of the time men in the military, they travel with stuff to let them know where the landmines are. And they gotta, you have to gingerly walk through that. I don't want anybody gingerly walking around me. I don't want people stepping on eggshells because I haven't healed inside of myself. So now I am lashing out at you because I haven't dealt with myself, which is why whatever's in your heart, that it tells you in the Bible that your heart has the issues of life. It's your wellspring of life. Whatever's in it is going to come out, good or bad. If you don't address your pain and the things that cause you pain, you will be bleeding on people and hurting other people. And so I knew dealing with this situation, one of the first things God taught me was that I had to persevere. That was not optional. And I remember I was at home in the middle of a panic attack. So what I'm here to tell you is you're going to have to persevere. When he said it to me, I was like, God, are you serious right now? Persevere. Do you see me on the floor? Do you see me? I can't breathe. I am not breathing. And he said, no, you got to persevere. And then it was, you need to pray. So whether you're a Christian or not, let me just tell you, okay? The reality is you can do nothing in this world without God. Whatever you're doing right now, if you're not following God and you're not a Christian, I'm sorry, Alex, but I have to I'm feeling that I need to say this. If you don't know Jesus, if you don't have hope, if you're feeling in any way that, you know what, I don't want to do this, I don't even want to wake up tomorrow, the only person that can help you with that is Jesus. That's it, period. And yes. I've been in the darkest places. I mean, darkness, dark, where I am at the hospital or I'm in my house, and God was like speaking to me. He's like, you need to persevere. You need to pray. You need to know that your purpose is for me. Whatever the purpose is that I'm giving you, it's not about you.
Yes.
So all those times when I was fighting, because some of us do that, okay? We fight. We wrestle with God. Nope, I'm not doing this. I want to do this instead. Oh, you have a plan for me, but I don't like that plan. How about we do it this way? That's what I was doing. God, I don't want to go into these hospitals and talk to no doctors. I don't want to stand on any stage and share my entire life with people. I'm a Caribbean woman. We don't tell our business in the street. That's not normal, you know? And God was saying, I'm not trying to hear none of that. Your purpose is about what I want it to be. This is not about you. There are people beyond you that need to hear your story and need to understand how you're navigating it. So you have to persevere, you have to pray. You need to know what your purpose is. If you don't know, you need to ask God, because I can't tell you what that is.
Yes.
And it's the thing that you'll do most of the time without taking a cent from somebody. It's the thing you do all the time, unknowingly, and don't even realize that you're doing it, but you're doing it. So you need to know that you need to praise God in the middle of your storm. Like it's storming outside right now. I mean, a lot of storm. You've been in a hurricane or whatever kind of storm, no matter where you live, you've experienced heavy downpours, the darkness, the cloud, the lightning, the loud thunder. You need to praise God when things look crazy. And I remember when I was on the floor and these are called walking in water moments. And I thought, what, you want me to walk on water? I'm sorry, I am not Jesus. Hello? Like, this is not real. So every time I would push back, I would hear something the opposite that made no sense to me.
Sure.
You know? So it's being able to say, you know what, every single time I have a different situation, a trial, a tribulation, a tragedy, whatever it is, I need to know that I got to persevere. I have to pray. I need to think about my purpose. What is my purpose? Ask God what it is. I need to give God praise. Turn on your praise music. Stop listening to all of that my grandmother would say, that boogie yaga stuff. Okay? Like, turn on the praise song, people. Put some hymns on. Do something, right? And most importantly, you have to understand that he talked to me about being passionate. And when we hear that word, we're thinking, oh, yeah, I'm passionate about football. Yay, football. Or I'm passionate. No, that's not the kind of passion I'm talking about.
Yes.
The base meaning of the word passion is passio, which means to suffer. Okay. So you have to understand that in this life, you're going to have trials and tribulation, and you're going to experience suffering.
Yes.
And I can honestly sit here and say today that that persevering, praying, praising God, recognizing that suffering is not a punishment from God. It's a way to build your character. Now, people, it's not something that you just come to. And you got to go get some therapy. Get your heart right. Go get some therapy. Have someone put your stuff go to talk to someone where you can say what you need to say in a safe place.
Yes.
Without judgment. And then when the therapist tells you, do this journal entry based on this topic or do this exercise, you need to do it so that you can grow. Because for every phase of this journey that I've been on, I've had a therapist, pastoral counseling, something where I wasn't walking by myself. And you have to also surround yourself with people who speak life to you.
Yes.
I wouldn't be on this podcast with Alex now if it wasn't, college days? It's been how many years from college? But you can't have people in your life that are not going to say, listen, Cherise, you need to, get right with God. Or Cherise, you probably shouldn't have said it that way. Or somebody will say, girl, I'm so proud of you and you're doing such amazing work. I just want to congratulate you. You're such a great mom. You need to have people in your life that's going to speak life to you and also give you correction if you need to be corrected. So that would be what I would tell you. You can't quit, you can't give up. If the thing is, if you still have breath and if you're still breathing, that breath that you take every single day, you still have a reason to be here. If you're breathing, God, you're being called to do something else. And if you are being stubborn like I was, and you're not listening, and you're saying, no, I want to do it this way, because I think this way is my way is better, God, then you really, you're going to keep suffering. You're going to keep facing the struggles, that you're going to constantly feel that discomfort until you start to walk in the direction that God wants you to. So that would be my encouragement to people, is to persevere, pray, be passionate, praise, and remember what your purpose is, because that's what helped me. Those are the things that helped me to navigate and still continue to help me navigate. Sometimes when I forget how I got to where I am, I'm thinking, oh wait, oh, I need to go back and pray some more. Oh, okay.
Yes,
And I
yes.
need to pray, yeah, all of that. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful to someone.
No, not at all. It was a good cutter. It sounds like a John Maxwell, get quick, No, but seriously, thank you for your transparency, and also thank you for talking about the real hard stuff, because, it's not always easy. And many times, no matter what your story is, we experience these moments that really call to question, what are we doing, and our value and our purpose. And, you kind of reminded us it is hard, but we have to do the work. And and in time, with help and therapy, with support, there is a way for us to look back and said, there is some purpose past this. And, I might not be the same person I was, but I'm a more evolved person that has more purpose and focus now, and my story can help somebody else overcome and get through. So I definitely want to thank you for your time, and if our listeners want to reach out to you, can they reach out to you via LinkedIn?
Yes. Oh,
And
they can reach out to me.
Mhm.
Sorry about that. They can reach
Right.
out to me via LinkedIn. So my name, Cherise Irons. I'm on LinkedIn. You can also follow me on Instagram at Miss Irons Sharpens. And also I have a Facebook page as well. It's Irons Consulting Group LLC. So you will be able to find me, send me messages or reach out. My website is actually ironsconsultinggroup.llc.com. You can also go there if you want to do a consultation, if you're like a doctor's office and you or want to have work, someone come in. If you know a doctor's office
Yes.
that needs that. I also work with some churches and organizations that are looking to build teams and stuff like that, or schools that are looking for that. But that is not necessarily my main focus, but I will do it if someone really needs it and I can work it into my schedule. But I'm just out here to sharpen people.
Yes.
That's what I'm called to do. And this is not something typically the thing that you're running from is probably the thing that you should be doing. So
No. Don't say it too loud. Some people gonna be like, I'm gonna cut the podcast off right now. So whoa! I was good up to that point, you know. Yes,
yeah, so whatever it is that you think you should be doing, and then that's not what you're supposed to be doing. So yes, I'm seriously, with entrepreneurship. I know we're wrapping up, but I just wanted to say, with entrepreneurship, I heard recently, her name is, what's her name? Fawn Weaver. She's the CEO of Uncle Nearest, okay, which is a whiskey company. And she was talking about the other day that don't start if you're a quitter. When it comes to, so if you're transitioning
Mhm.
from the classroom into entrepreneurship and you're not, you won't have that paycheck that come every week, 2 weeks, and those systems, the healthcare and the 401k and the da da da, all these systems and processes that are already built in, and
Yes,
you just kind of step into it. Entrepreneurship is not that. You have to
yes,
build the thing, okay? So if you're not into building things, or you can find people to build it for you, but when you're carrying a baby, because basically Irons Consulting Group is my second child. Okay. So when you are carrying a baby and you're waiting to, you got to nurture it, all this stuff, it's a lot of work, people. So if you're going into entrepreneurship thinking that, oh, I'm going to make billions of dollars in the first year, and yeah, about that.
the second
Just
year.
okay about that. So it's not like that. So you just have to know that it can be done. It is entirely possible. I'm around some amazing people that are amazing entrepreneurs here in South Florida doing the daggone thing. So, some of them were teachers, some of them are, I mean, I even met a social worker the other day who transitioned out of the school system to build her own business. And you can still work with kids. It just doesn't have to be behind school doors.
Yes, yes.
So if that's your calling,
Hmm.
so.
Well, thank you so much. This has definitely been an encouraging and insightful conversation, and I know definitely our listeners will benefit and also reach out to you. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us today. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode with a colleague. Keep learning, keep growing, and never stop believing in your impact because you truly make a difference.